Manchester United 2, Everton nil. A game that I couldn't see live, I couldn't watch it live, but from what I'm told, for the most part, it was an absolute disgusting watch with how poor some of the football or the standard of football that was being played was. But at the end of the day, in the Premier League, the only thing people ever really care about at the end of the day is going to be whether that team wins at 3 points or not. And we won 3 points. It was a must win game, especially for the manager's sake. Um, I thought, in terms of the team he put out, there's probably along the lines. I mean, there's two changes or two differences as far as the team goes that perhaps I would have made, and that is McTominay being a bench player as opposed to starting on the pitch. Um, and I suppose, I mean, I've got no real problems with the defensive lineup as well. I think we desperately need somebody to come back who is an actual fullback to play in that position, because Lindelof playing there, no matter how hard we try to envision him there, he's never really going to fit the bill. He's not going to really tick the boxes for what we need back there. But anywho, Wan-Bissaka, I think, should hopefully be back somewhat soon. So we can look forward to that, to say the very least. And at least then Delo could move over to the left-hand side and we can have natural fullbacks playing in fullback positions, So as far as the game goes, I mean, Garnacho, the big difference maker here, because United, again, a little toothless in attack, a little toothless. Everton somehow even more so toothless, which is quite hard to do. It's I'm not gonna lie, it's a bit difficult to be more toothless up front than Manchester United, and without Rasmus Højlund as well, by the way, which I think Rasmus is thereabouts around the corner from match fitness, pretty much. I think he's sort of back in the gist of training, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, it's still a little bit of time before Rasmus is back into the fold up top. But Garnacho, well, we needed somebody to step up. One player that I do sometimes criticise in the essence that he's a little bit on the inconsistent side, and it's a fair criticism with all things, with all things considered. Even despite him being, 18, 19 years of age, it's still something that we can sometimes, criticize when we see it. It's just part of how we assess what we see as consumers, as supporters of the sport. So, if he's off it, we'll say it as it is. He's off it. But if he's on it, then we'll give him the praise that he deserves. And as far as being toothless in attack, at least somebody was awake to causing a bit of mayhem, especially in the first half for Everton's backline. It looked like there was a bit of panic, a little bit of panic when Garnacho gets into some good positions and looks like he's a bit unstoppable. They make the lunge, they pop the foot in, and Garnacho's just like, well, thank you for extending your leg for the invitation. The invitation to take a penalty, and he's done that twice in the first half, and both times blatant penalties. So nimble work from Garnacho, to say the very least, in the attacking scenario. So big ups to him for awarding the penalties. It is just very much typical that the two penalty takers are both Bruno Fernandes and Marcus Rashford, respectively, given that they are two of the players who I think most United fans can single out as some of the bigger problems with in terms of players in the team not performing. And I mean, to be fair, both penalties seemed more or less normal. You know, normal penalties by at least their standards. And basically, can't fault the execution for both of those penalties. I think Pickford went the right way with Bruno's penalty, and I think the Marcus Rashford penalty, a little stutter in the run up and putting it left side. Um, it was coolly put away. Marcus Rashford and Bruno Fernandes, well done for putting your penalties away. But for the rest of the game, that was shambolic. Absolutely shambolic. Bruno Fernandes, Marcus Rashford, Scott McTominay, he started another game, guys. He started another game and he disappeared for another game. You start to catch the pattern. You start to catch the drift. It's like what my assessment on Scott McTominay. He starts a game, bye-bye for 90 minutes. We won't do anything. But if I'm a super sub, you can rely on me. You can trust in me. I will carry you. But seriously, in terms of distributing between performers and non-performers, it practically split straight down the middle between players that were on it and players that weren't. And thank goodness that in various key areas, especially in the defence, that players were switched on. I mean, Johnny Evans and Raphael Varane. I mean, those two at centre back. I was under the assumption that potentially it would have been Amrabat at left back with Lindelof playing centre back, considering Johnny Evans, I think, was coming into this game having been on the edge with a knock. So I was wondering if he would have started from the bench. I think it's more or less what my predicted team was. Had in question marks around it. But Johnny Evans and Raphael Varane, big difference makers, and another clean sheet again for Andre Onana. I think a bit lucky, a bit fortunate that where the chances that Everton did have, that they were just off the ball, like no real quality in that final third. I mean, there's one point where I think it was Calvert-Lewin, I think, squared the ball across the box, and whoever was at the far post completely missed it. That should have been the goal right there for Everton, but not to be. Besides that, not an awful lot, not pretty barely anything for Everton to write home about. But for the most part, it could have been a lot worse for us on a different day, considering, again, the discipline with possession on the pitch is practically non-existent with some of these players. Scott McTominay, a prime example. Bruno Fernandes at times. Casemiro today was not good. Was not good at all today. No discipline. Clear and obvious passes that are 5/10 yard passes. Some of these players cannot do that. They can't do that. I'm sorry, but I can't sit here and say that Ten Hag is telling them to play 5 yards and 10-yard passes poorly, or to ignore those passes in favour of the unobvious pass to try and hit some spectacular over, aerial ball, diagonal ball to the opposing attack, the attacker on the opposite side with the switch of the play. Why not have the guy right there in front of you or right next to you? Is that not better for you? Is that not the more obvious pass to go for, instead of trying to execute the most difficult pass to possibly do? It not go to your teammate. It drops to the opponent, and straight away the counter attack's underway. This is one of the biggest reasons, and I suppose Fulham is a prime example of it, that we could not, to save our lives, win that game on the basis that every time you kick that ball forwards and you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. And listen, you play a stupid pass, you're probably going to concede on the counter, right? And that's why a lot of possession style teams put playing the simple pass first a long way before trying the difficult pass for the sake of it. I mean, it it doesn't make any sense to me with some of these players. And if everyone was looking for the 5 yard simple pass and looking for the patient build up in play, do you know what? Our defense and our back four, our defensive midfield duo would actually be really, really relaxed. Really, really relaxed. A couple of counters here and there, and it's patient. It's patience. And you can move the ball, dictate the tempo of the game, you lower the risk factor, and you bring the game home to you. But the way we do it is too desperate, too quickly, putting it into stupid areas where the execution, you need someone who is probably one of the best players in the world to actually execute those passes, which, let's be fair, none of the players in our team are really one of the best players in the world at the moment. And there's not the player really there to receive it. And I can't imagine that there's tactical instructions that say, oh, if you see a player on the other side that you think is in a good position, play a ridiculously long aerial pass and get them to run onto it, because there's so many variables that you need to go right there. And if the amount of times we try to do it it's not fathomable. You give the ball away too many times. Our defense can soak up some attacks. Our defensive midfield can soak up some attacks. They, for the life of them, cannot play and defend and soak up a counter attack every 2 to 3 minutes. It just doesn't work. It won't work. You need to hold that ball up. Hold it up, play the simple pass, get your team further up the pitch. Because great things will come from the likes of Bruno, from the likes of Rashford, the likes of Garnacho, and whoever else plays up top. Hell, even Anthony. For God's sakes, even Anthony. If the team is practically in and around the box, Anthony can be a bit more nimble and find a half yard to get a shot away from close range. And hell, if he gets close enough, he'll cause all sorts of problems in the box. But we need the team to get there. But the build up, the options that those players are opting to go with is not working out for the betterment of the team. Both goals come today because Garnacho decides, I'm going at you. Like, I am running at you. Now, Rashford sometimes does this. The biggest problem Rashford has is he just runs it into a massive crowd of players, and he doesn't really look for the right moment to make the pass. Garnacho, being inexperienced, relatively fortunate in one or two cases, perhaps, where he doesn't get overly crowded out, or he gets a little knock-ons that sort of take it just away from the defender from getting a touch. But you need to actually do it in order to create your own luck. Garnacho took the chance and went forward with it. And what do you know? Right place, right time. Defender. Make them desperate. Make them heated. Make them heated. Put them under the pressure. Put them under the cosh. You can draw defenders into making some mistakes. Put them under the pressure. Garnacho did just that in those moments and won us 2 penalties. Before then, when was the last time we had a penalty from open play? Does anybody know? Does anybody actually know when the last time we actually had a penalty from open play in a game? Because I'm pretty sure you'd be going back quite a while. Just to find the last time that we've had a penalty, because we don't usually spend a lot of time in and around the opposition's box. So we can't draw fouls if we're not really in those areas of the pitch for long enough. So you could probably look at it like that. Why is it that we don't? Why is it that we're not getting many penalties? Well, that's because you're not spending as much time in your opposition's box as other teams do. The teams that spend more time in the opposition's box were more likely to draw fouls in those positions. And when they draw fouls, you get penalties. It's quite simple math. It's quite simple math, to be honest. But yeah, so we can say the MVP of the match, the big difference maker, Garnacho, for drawing those penalties. I think Mainu, another steady performance for Kobe Mainu. Diogo Dalot, steady performance as well. Onana, steady. Varane and Johnny Evans, a good defensive partnership today. Scott McTominay ghosted. Bruno Fernandes, nothing really spectacular there at all. Casemiro, woeful first half. Absolutely, bloody awful first half. Second half, ever so slightly better, but that's not really anything to shout about. And then Rashford as well, from the penalty spot, great. From open play, not so much. So yeah, I mean, what do we think with the manager on this as well? Because it really does feel like when you watch some of those players play, even when the tactics are that woefully bad, I don't think a manager, even if they're high on crack, asks a player who can be that talented to make a 5-yard pass and them not be able to do it. I just don't feel that there's ever any world out there where you can have this happen. So for me, I sympathise with the manager in the aspect that some of those players, it doesn't matter what you ask them to do, they will absolutely shit the bed. So there's various things that I don't sympathise with the manager, with various decisions and how he's approached in certain aspects. I suppose one of the things is not trying to play his style of football, and maybe necessarily being stubborn with it, but at the same time, on that basis, where I can say, well, he should be doing that. At the same time, I can also understand why he doesn't, because the guy wants to be a Man United manager, and if he does that, he knows he's going to get destroyed 6-0 every week. So, of course, he's opting not to do that. Because otherwise, if he did that, I don't think he'd be manager right now, because he would have lost that many games. Like Brighton and Brentford at the start of the first season were inclinations of that. Losing 4-0 to Brentford, that's just a taster, a mere little taster of what was to come if you play open and try and throw the kitchen sink at it. Those players aren't capable of it. So, what do you trust? A manager that could potentially get us to play good football when he knows he's got the right players, or players that he knows can do the jobs or the tasks that he asks of them, or put faith in players that no matter what manager they have, they still struggle to make the simple execution for passing movement and shooting, like the real basic stuff, like grassroots level. They're struggling. Like some players in this team are struggling to do what grassroots players can do. They are Premier League footballers. How is that even remotely possible? So, I mean, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about the match in the comment section below, and pick out who your man of the match is. For me, I'm going to go with, just for the sake of it, Garnacho. On the basis if it's not Garnacho, I don't think Anthony draws those 2 penalties. I don't think Rashford draws those 2 penalties. I don't think Bruno does. I don't think anybody else on that pitch would. So Garnacho wins us 2 penalties, both penalties we score from. And funnily enough, we could have ended up with a third one with Marcus Rashford in the second half, but he was then flagged for offside. So yeah, so that yeah, it is what it is with that. But yeah, to be honest, it not great as far as how watching the game is concerned. But in the Premier League, it's 3 points, or it's a win, or it's a dross or a loss. I think we all know which outcome we'd much prefer to have. We'd all prefer the 3 points. We now go up to 47, 3 off of 50 points, and 5 points ahead of West Ham, 7 ahead of Newcastle, 3 points behind Tottenham, but Tottenham have 2 games in hand, so let's not live in hope with that. I mean, even if we were to win our next game and Tottenham not play, you can draw level on points with them, but they still have 3 games to play. So yeah, they're definitely winning. Even if they win just one of those 2, there's immediately a buffer put back there. So yeah, let's not live in hope with that. But anyways, get your thoughts and your feelings about the match down below. Who your man of the match is, who your best player, worst player, whoever, and leave your thoughts and verdicts on our next up and coming game. Liverpool, Sunday, Old Trafford, FA Cup 5th round. Let's see what goes on this week, and yeah, let's prepare ourselves mentally for that. But anyways, thank you very much, guys, for watching. Sorry it couldn't be sooner because first and foremost, I was at work today. Second off, it was my brother's birthday celebration, so yeah, we had a nice curry takeaway. And you know what? To round it all off, we're serving ourselves a solid one now. But anyways, take care, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe. And yeah, we'll see you, I'm sure, tomorrow, especially tomorrow night, with the Sunday night takeaway show. Most likely. But anyways, guys, we'll see you tomorrow. Take care, goodbye, and enjoy the rest of your Saturdays. Take care.